Welcome back to Season 4 of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Join me, Brad, each week as my guests and I share incredible and powerful sobriety stories. We are here to show sobriety is possible, one story at a time. Let's go! In this episode of the podcast, we have Steven, who shares his journey battling alcohol addiction. Steven shares how his normal childhood quickly spiraled into heavy drinking during his early police career, leading to decades of escalating dependence and withdrawal struggles. He recounts staring death right in the eye after drinking took a massive toll on his health and he was unsure if he would live or die. For Steven, quitting alcohol changed everything, and he has been able to make massive changes in his life. From pints with the boys to the operating table, this is Steven's story on the Sober Motivation Podcast. Welcome back to the Sober Motivation Podcast. Today we've got Steven with us. How are you?
Very good. You? How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for jumping on here and being willing to share your story with all of us.
Not a problem. Not a problem. It needs to be shared to help people recover, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I was really at the bottom of the bottle, and 5 years ago, I nearly lost my life, and I've managed to turn around.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. So let's get into it. What was it like for you growing up?
I brought up in a small market town in the northeast of England, UK. My dad was a local policeman, and my parents used to drink socially, and they used to have this old outbuilding where they used to make homebrew lager. And there was always a stack of lager in there. So I started to dabble with that when I was about 13 or 14, but it was quite strong. And I played in a band at school, and I used to get a few of the lads from the school band, have a few drinks with me. We were practicing the band and all that sort of thing. And I soon found I had quite a high tolerance to it. I had quite a normal childhood, and I never thought I would go in the police. But when I joined the police quite young, I found that the band of brothers there, we all drank. And that's when it got out of control. But growing up was fine. I had a pretty normal childhood, decent qualifications, nothing spectacular, but, pretty good. After and that sort of thing. A little bit strict because my dad was a local policeman, but other than that, it was pretty normal.
Yeah.
Pretty normal.
Okay. Did you play sports or anything like that? I
played a bit of football, a bit of rugby, tennis. I was quite active. I was in the junior RAF, go gliding. I was very active. I had one of these. I needed to be good at everything. I wanted to be in every club, basketball team, football team, rugby team, cricket team. I was very busy. Used to go fishing at night. I was very rarely in the house, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I had this quite, I would say, overactive mind, maybe. So I wasn't one to just sit around. Then I was playing in the band. Then I used to chase girls, as we all do. And then, so easily led. I was easily led into the drinking.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was my social. It took away all my anxiety, like it does for a lot of people,
Yeah.
So that's what started off with me. But what happened with the home brew is my parents used to go on holiday with my younger sister, and we lived in a police house, which was inside a police station. So it was quite safe for me to be left when I was 15, 16. And when they were away, I used to hit the drink more. But on school holidays and things like that. And so my tolerance level too it gained pay. I could drink 15 of these bottles, where the other lads could drink about 5, and I got used to it. So when I grew up a little bit longer, like the older teens, I was drinking more and more, staying out a bit later to get the buzz. So it started quite early with me, to be fair.
Did your parents pick up on it at all, that you were doing this?
Yeah, my mother did. Actually, one day I came back from school and she said, I need a word with you. And she had a black bin liner, and it was full of empty cans of beer. And she said to me, I was 15, have you got a drink problem? I said, no, not me. She said, what about this bin liner full of cans? I stored them in a cupboard. You never thought anybody would find them. But she must have gone in one day a year and cleaned. And I said, it's just the lads, when they come around to practice, we'll have a few tins. I don't think she believed me, but it was never spoken about again. And I left home, I was 20 anyway. But I used to be a social drinker in my late teens. I thought it was social. And then it became more and more regular. Then it was virtually every night, having a few drinks.
Yeah.
And I would stay later than everybody else. I noticed that. But I thought, a big lad, fit, got on with a couple of older lads who played rugby, and they were big drinkers. And so it was a different crowd. And then when I joined the police, it was a much older crowd, and they thought they could drink more than me, but I could outdrink them. So I knew I had a massive tolerance then, but I used to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy it.
Even you mentioned there a little while ago that you noticed that it helped with the anxiety, being social with people and stuff. So that was like maybe what kept you coming back to it, right? As it took the insecurities faded away.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact I had a bit of a buzz, and I was playing in the band, and I was going to be a star. The usual things when you're young, and have a few beers. It all went hand in hand with it. And then I couldn't play in the band, I was in the police, but we used to drink after every shift. in the police. I was based up north at the time. And then I moved to London. That was my Disneyland for drinking, because the pubs was always access to a bar 24 hours a day. And I worked in the centre. I got promoted. I was good at my job. I kept functioning reasonably well, I thought I was. Got promoted. And there was a young sergeant in the Met Police, I've heard of them. And I patrolled Mayfair and Soho, and the bars there were open. We used to go for a drink after night duty as well, 6 o'clock in the morning. To the special hours pubs, which were open for market traders, doctors and things, yeah. So that started day drinking as well, and then it would just be a vicious cycle of drinking, withdrawals, and got married early and just drank more and more. But I thought I could cope. That was the thing, but I couldn't cope. I went to the doctors a couple of times. I didn't want to stop. My wife was saying, in my heart of hearts, I liked it too much. I never drank any spirits or wine, only just lager. But it got stronger lager.
Yeah.
5-6%, that sort of thing.
Was that part of kind of the story you told yourself about, like, I don't have a problem with this, or did you?
Oh, yeah.
Know? Yeah.
Yeah. I knew I had withdrawals were bad. I just thought it was part of me getting more tired. And when I had a hard day at work, I used to drink. When I was happy, I drank. When I was sad, I drank all the time because I enjoyed it. And I just couldn't stop. But I didn't feel any reason to stop. My health was quite good. I thought it was. But obviously I wasn't functioning as well as some people did. But in the job I was in, 90% of us drank too much. That was the thing. See, the police is a big drink. I don't want to say where you are, but the police, because you're working in a team, can be a big drinking culture in that, where people are hitting it all the time. And then I drank a bit more at home and that sort of thing. Because for 10 years, we didn't have any responsibility. Then my daughter was born, and that changed everything.
What was that?
My daughter was born when I was 32. Okay. So she's 30 now. So when that happened, my responsibility levels increased, because prior to that, I was living with my wife. It was just the two of us. She had a job somewhere else, so didn't see each other that much. I had my own recovery time, that makes sense. Then when I had the responsibility looking after a child, I started to get a huge withdrawal. I couldn't rest as much, and the drinking increased because I was feeling so ill, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I started self-medicating and all this sort of thing. And as I got into my 30s, my parents suggested I came back up north and did a bit of a dry out. So I decided to get a doctor's appointment. Came up north and just took some annual leave from work. And I stopped suddenly, and I had a seizure. I was about 33. I didn't know you couldn't stop. I must have been so physically dependent on it. I was chemically dependent. I stopped. I had this seizure. And that was really the road down the medication, that sort of thing. And I managed to get off it with Valium and diazepam. Yeah. Carried on in the police a little bit better. But I had a lot of 2-year periods where I was off it, and I started again. And it was relapse that nearly killed me. That's what I try and push on the channel. Yeah.
And were you doing anything else for your recovery during these times, or were you just not drinking and...
Just not drinking, just trying not to drink. And somebody would come up, I think, I feel really good now after a year. I'll just have one bottle. And I split with my wife, and I was going on dates. I thought, well, I haven't had a drink for ages. I'll have 1 or 2 bottles on. I remember once, I'll never forget, it was a day, I had a date, and I thought, I had some beer left in the cupboard, and I thought, I'll just have one. And drinking it was as if somebody was injecting me with a drug. I just drank it. Oh my God, the feeling. And then I thought, I went off this date, I thought, I'll just have 2 or 3. And then 6 months later, I was back to square one again, drinking all the time. Yeah. And when I retired, I had more time. And that went in that sort of cycle. And then when I managed to get this recovery time of 8 years, and I started again, that was just back to square one, but further back. Every time you relapse, it's worse for your body. Yeah. But I didn't have any of that knowledge when I was younger, I didn't know it was so harmful.
Yeah.
But I knew it was harmful, but I didn't know anything about it. I call it step 1, 2, 3, and 4, really. 1, social drinking. Step 2, moderate. 3 is heavy. 3.5 is when you're drinking heavily and you know it's going to cause problems. And then step 4 is when you're hair of the dog, when you're drinking, a reason for a drink in the morning, and you're just going to fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
And, that happened to me. And, I'm trying to help people because I nearly died. So close to death.
Yeah, and that's sort of the progression that it took for you too, right? Fairly quickly, it sounds like. What else was going on in your life throughout all this stuff? I mean, you mentioned you were married and you had a daughter. Yeah. Like, what else was going on?
I was still functioning in the police. Police was very busy working in central London. I was trying for another promotion, all that sort of thing. There was a lot of competition there. I was not really looking after myself. The hobbies had gone out the window. Wasn't playing any sport or anything. So I was just working and drinking, basically. And then obviously trying to care for my daughter. Then coming up north to see parents, and that was all. Everything became a bit of an effort for me. The only thing I found easy in life was to drink. That was take the pain of anything away, any emotional pain before being homesick or any domestic issues I had, and drink was just my focus. But I still recognised it was doing me so much harm, even though I knew people who died of it. There didn't seem to be at that time that much availability to knowledge that there is now. The internet wasn't really around; it wasn't being used very much. No, I couldn't Google anything about liver disease. I just thought, I'm invincible. I'm a young guy. I'm fit. Yeah. But it hits you like a train when it comes back, and it kills so many people. But lifestyle was very busy at work, and I was, getting on with my life really like a normal guy. But I didn't realise that it was doing me so much harm, and that's the key, because it's called the silent killer, liver disease. And then obviously just over the top. My thoughts on it were, because I'm drinking lager and beers, it's just, I was told there's a lot of water in that'll flush your system out. As long as you don't touch wines and spirits, you'll be fine, but it's wrong. Just the build-up of having a drink of alcohol every day of your life, that's what nearly killed me.
Yeah. What about, because you mentioned too, right, when you're working for the police and everything, you would go to these bars and pubs.
Yeah.
When you moved to London, everything was readily available. I mean, what about, it just seems like it was just normalized in your life. Like a lot of people are doing it. And
we all did it. Senior officers did it. I mean, not everybody to my level, but most people did it. We had this thing called Thursday Club. We'd finish early shift on a Thursday, and you didn't have to report back for duty until the Monday night. So at 2:30, we used to go to this police club, because at that time, police stations used to have a bar in it, and it was subsidised drink. So we used to go there 2:30, and then have a few more there, then go to the notebook, that's the normal pub, then go to a pub and stay at 11, and then sometimes go to a club till 4 a.m, and then sometimes just go for a wander about until the early morning market. Pubs opened at 6 a.m. So I used to do sometimes 24-hour sessions on the drink. That wasn't unheard of. And then go back, this before my daughter was born, go back home and sleep it off. And it obviously caused problems in the house, this sort of thing. But there was always an excuse for a drink where I worked. Somebody being promoted, somebody being demoted, somebody got a complaint, somebody whatever, somebody being married, engaged. There's always an excuse. And that's the thing with it. And that's hard to get across to people, because it's so normalised drinking in society, isn't it? Yeah. Especially UK. It's out of control here. I think we had the highest number of alcohol-related deaths in the UK on record last year, which is frightening, isn't it? Yeah. And all these other things to go ahead with. So, but to summarize, as a normal guy, I was a normal guy. It just caught up with me because I enjoyed it. How do you stop somebody drinking? How do you stop somebody doing something that they enjoy? It's that's the thing, isn't it? That was the problem with me. I had lots of warrants.
Yeah. Did you ever? I'm just wondering, did you ever talk with anybody about it, like a therapist, a counselor, or check out any support or anything? No.
In those days, there was no help really. It was just all the doctor said to me was, "It's going back. I'm 62 now. Go back to 32 years. Okay, you're drinking too much. You should try and cut down. You stop." And all this sort of thing. That's what it was, really. It wasn't until I was all about that seizure, the doctor said, no, you can't just stop. Because even now, people are told, just cut down. In the UK, there's not that much help for alcoholics. There's a lot for drug addicts. A lot of alcoholics are drugs, So there wasn't really much around. I did go to one counsellor when I was a bit older. I walked in, with this girl I knew, who was a solicitor, and she said to me, this counsellor, she was supposed to be a mental health nurse, right? She said, oh, you don't look too bad. Why don't you just try shandy? And I gave up with counselling after that, because her answer was pathetic, really. You don't look, that's what she said, you don't look like an alcoholic. But I was clearly, so I didn't get a lot of help there. I tried Alcoholics Anonymous as well. I didn't really get on with that very well. So I had to sort of do it myself in a way, if that makes sense. It was typical.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I also wonder too, just sort of with your background, right, working in police, and I hear a lot of this from maybe people in your generation too, that just asking for help, just in talking about feelings and what you were going through, just really wasn't. It was just like figure it out,
That's exactly it. It was just, it's up to you. You're a tough lad. I remember in 1990, it's a long time ago now, the ambulance service withdrew the police covered the ambulances for a while. I did nearly 6 months of duty, very little time off. So all sorts of things as an ambulance driver, but in the police uniforms, that makes sense. There was more going on the ambulance side than was the police side, and so horrific injuries and this sort of thing. No counselling at all when I finished. Nothing at all. There wasn't even a meeting with anybody to say, oh, don't know, whatever, what you've coped as an ambulance medic. Because we weren't trained properly. And the things we saw on the police, as you can imagine, horrific. There was no counselling those days. No, they just said, "Oh, are you going to work tomorrow? Yeah, see you at 6 o'clock." That was it.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a support system then. All I had was this from people and doctors, "Oh, just cut down." And then the AA was what the AA is, which didn't suit me. And the wife's just bickering on about it. And parents saying you should cut down. It's hard to do it. It's not easy. There's a lot more in place now than there was, but still not enough.
Yeah. It's interesting too with the whole cut down, right? Because I think for most of us, it's not going to be everybody's story, but I think there's a part of our journey where we all want to cut down. Of course, we want to continue to be able to drink. So it's like, and I've been in those spaces too, where people are like, cut down. I was like, home run. I just hit a home run. They just gave me the green light to try to cut down. It never worked, but it was like that thing to keep going, or that permission maybe to keep going.
Yeah. It's why can't I just have one drink thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And fear of missing out and all that sort of thing. I mean, I've got loads of subscribers on the YouTube and they'll say to me, "Well, why can't I have just one?" But you can't have one because if you have one, you'll be back to square one again, because alcohol has got this, I think it's got 100% success rate of bringing you back. I know that one drink today won't kill me, but I'll fancy another one tomorrow. It's still late to the brain, isn't it? You want another one. It's a drug, isn't it? And then your inhibitions are lowered and then you start drinking again. So I felt in a vicious cycle. And when I got to the point where I was drinking all the time and I was having to have a can of beer next to my bed, I couldn't break out of that. And I couldn't get any medication.
When was that?
That was 2014 when I started again. Between 2006 and 2014, I've had no drinks at all. I got diazepam 2006. When I went back in 2014, when I relapsed, they wouldn't give me the diazepam. Didn't do any good at all. Couldn't get it. I just self-medicated with alcohol and went downhill very rapidly. And what I did was I got some diazepam from the internet, which is a bad thing to do. Whether that worked or not, I don't know. I was so frightened to take it because I knew it may not have been authentic, that I just drank as well. So it was a double whammy, really. So I felt slightly let down by the health service in that way. But they did save my life at the bottom end. It seemed to me that I had to get really ill before I was looked at. Does that make sense? I wasn't really offered that much support when I was in active addiction. And that's what's happened to a lot of people. That's the problem, I think.
Yeah, you feel maybe even going back to that other comment you made, because you got that comment of, you looked all right, you looked good, and that maybe it wasn't taken seriously because of the physical appearance.
Maybe I came across quite articulate, I don't know. I should have gone in, totally as a mess and sticking the booze, but I went in to try and show me a reasonable guy. I've been sober for 8 years.
Yeah.
But the only reason I went back after 8 years, I met this girl and I started drinking a little bit. Just because she said, you're not drinking. I was frightened to tell her I was an alcoholic. And I had one can just try and convince her. I was frightened to drink it. So I knew what state I'd get into. I had an idea what state I was going to get into. And then about a month later, I went to her sister's house, to the Shoes house. And I said, I can't drink, I'm driving, because you make all these excuses up. I'm driving. The 7 bedrooms here, just stay. I thought, just have a couple of drinks. Then went down the south of France. I drove for 7 days. A great big camper van. It was a nightmare. I got there, and I was so stressed out with this driver. I'll just have a couple of drinks. So I knew I was away for 3 months with this girl, and I thought I'll just try the drink again. And before I knew where I was, within 7 days, I was cycling down to the camp shop at 7 o'clock in the morning, picking up a couple of bottles of beer, going to the shower block and opening the bottles of beer and drinking them. It took me right back so quickly.
Yeah.
So
after 8 years.
Yeah, that's something I didn't realise. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realise that, because you feel so good. I was super fit, you go to the gym every day, looking good, feeling like plenty of money, because you save a fortune when you're not drinking. And then I had this trip away, and just God, you're driving very well. I felt nervous driving. I couldn't drive on straight roads. I lost all my confidence, all within the space of a few weeks, From this really confident guy who could do anything, drive this huge camper van around. I had to get her to drive most of the time. So it took me back. It took me down from 100 to -20 within weeks. Yeah. That's the real danger of relapse, and people don't realise that. It's not explained enough. I don't think, because it could be. Relapse is a killer, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people too talk about when you go back into it, that reasoning with ourselves. We believe it, right? Like, I'm just going to drink tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to get back on the horse. And the reality is that could be true, or it could be 10 years before things turn back around, all because of that one drink, which usually comes down to us being uncomfortable in some situation or having a hard time accepting a life as it is. And so you met this girl and
I didn't want to tell her.
didn't want to tell her.
But my new partner, I did tell. I've been with her 14 months. I said, look, this is the problem I've had. Yeah. She's highly intelligent. It's got nothing to do with that, but she just accept me for who I am. And you've got to be honest with people. I think that's another message. Don't hide it, because alcoholism is a disease. No, it's classed as it's a medical condition. And anybody they won't dismiss you because you've got a problem with alcohol. In fact, a relationship works better when you're sober because you're reliable, aren't you? You're not letting people down. She wants me to take her to the airport tomorrow at 3 a.m. I can. Before that, when I was drinking, we always say when you drink, you've got to plan everything, haven't you, ahead? You mentioned a social event. Oh, can I go there? I used to have to drink before I went to a social event. Now I just turn up. Yeah. I can drive all the time. I'm reliable. I look all right. I can help people out. Before, I couldn't even help myself. And when I got to the point between 2014 and 2019, I was so ill I couldn't really get out of bed. I had rats in the flat. Couldn't get dealt with. I had no heating, no hot water. I didn't want to let anybody in the flat. I became totally isolated, just like a hermit, really. The only time I went out was try and push myself out to see somebody in the pub, get supplies of alcohol, and then I used to get a company called Dial Drink. I used to come out in the middle of the night and drink, just drop drink off. I was drinking 24 hours a day. Yeah. Falling asleep in bed, drinking. And I was so frightened not to drink because I may have other seizures. And that you get into this cycle of just not being able to cope. So for one, I was just the shell of what I was, to be honest. Yeah. I was frightened to open the post, wouldn't answer the phone, lost all contact with people, and just became very insular and probably depressed as well, I'd imagine, into all that. And it was horrendous. I wouldn't wish it. I wouldn't like to go back there for an hour, but at the state I was in. Yeah. Mental health was like, but that wasn't talked about enough either when I was in hospital. Yeah. No, so I was admitted to hospital. So it very quickly takes over. If I kept on with that 8 years, I'd be a lot more healthy and wealthier than I am now. It's just that one drink took me back so far in a matter of weeks. That's how quick it is. And that's the message I want to push to people. Because so many people go back. You see you're uncomfortable with the situation, you have a drink. Or, in my case, I felt so good, I can try it again. Everyone wants this dream back of having the first drink and having the buzz. Yeah. Oh, we shouldn't go back there. But we're getting older every day. The body can't cope, your mind can't cope, when you're back to square one again,
I mean, your tolerance builds. That's another part of the thing, right? Is the tolerance builds, and then you drink more, and then when you drink more, you can get into that area where your body needs the alcohol, right? It's so interesting because even when I had my first drink, the day after I woke up, I knew I was going to have to quit drinking someday. I just had that feeling that
I feel terrible.
It was, but when I was with that party, the acceptance, the love, I felt like for once I could be part of the world, right? Because I grew up as this insecure, over anxious, nervous person, struggled to talk to girls, struggled to fit in. When I walked into that party and I grabbed whatever they mixed up in the cooler there, the alcohol, and I had a few drinks of those. Yeah. I was off to the races. I was talking to girls. I was just fitting in. And I just knew, I was like, this is just too good.
Good, isn't it?
To be true, right? And but you're right, though, because that's what I think, that's the romanticization that we have, is that I did anyway, that one day I'll get back. I'll figure this out like a gentleman, and I'll get back to how it once was, where I could have one or two. But I think once shame became involved in my life, and I was making other poor choices around alcohol. I mean, literally anytime things went sideways in my life, maybe not any time, but 90% of the time, alcohol was involved. I think a lot of us can relate to that we're not drinking, we're sober. Things are pretty good, but when we get in trouble or relationships break down, it's, man, booze, alcohol is at the center of this,
But, all of it. But it's similar to what you said there. When you have that first drink go party, and you feel on the top of the world, aren't you? They're on top of the world. When I joined the police in London, I went to this pub and I thought, it's fantastic, with good vibe and all that. And I went to a pub. This is another. I've got a quite good memory for certain events. I went to a pub. I think it was my 30th birthday. It was very early on, about 2 minutes past 11. I got this drink and I just held it up like that. And I just looked at it, and in my mind, I said to myself, I know you're going to kill me, but I love it. So I'd already had serious withdrawals, even at the age of 30. I was feeling rough and nauseous and being sick and all that. But I wanted to go back to those days when I was playing in the band and had a few drinks, and it was great. And that's what people still do now. No matter how old they are, they're looking for that, because if you're being a bit anxious, I think, my personal stance on this, a lot of alcoholics and drinkers have been a bit nervous, have had a bit of anxiety. They're overthinkers, they're people pleasers. It's the hard guys that seem to just roll on through it, because there's a lot of mental health issues with alcohol.
Yeah.
But this is correctly what you're saying. You become really strong when you've had a drink. I did. And then it weakens you over the time, and you're never going to get that buzz back.
Yeah.
It's a chocolate gone.
Yeah, it's never going to be the same. It also, too, for me, and I don't know if you can relate to this at all, but it becomes part of the identity, right? I didn't want to, I was a people pleaser too, right? Where you hit on
all of us are.
Yeah, I wanted everybody around me to have a good time, and I was willing to sacrifice sort of what I knew was right for everybody to have a good time. But then it was an identity, right? Like I was just known as the guy that really didn't have much going on, but loved to party.
Yeah, and me. I remember when I was quite a young sergeant, there was 2 PCs. So, Sarge, we're big drinkers. They were big lads, older than me, so, but probably on my weight now, but when I was young and thin. And they said, we'll drink you under the table, Sarge. So I said, okay. We're doing this day shift, 8 till 4 or something, but the next day we had a royalty visit in the morning. So I said, right, as long as you're on the due by 10 a.m. the next day, I'll come for a drink with you. So the day before, finished at 4, met them in the Red Lion pub, which is near Carnaby Street. You might have heard of that in London. Yeah. And they were bigger than me. And they were big drinkers. You could tell they were big drinkers. By about 7 o'clock, one was just about falling off the stool, and one had already gone home because I was drinking Pils lager like that. Right, no, it's fine. Next day, I turned up at the royalty visit. It was Princess Anne, as you heard of her, outside the Cafe Royal in London. Because all I told me to do was be there at the doorway in uniform, walk down the street in my uniform as a young sergeant, and I thought, where's the PCs? There was one PC there, and had his jacket. It was summer's day, and his jacket like that, right buttoned up here, instead of just a shirt on. Yeah. So I said, where's the beast? I said, where's the beast? Oh, he didn't make it in. He's called in sick because he had too much drink with me. And I said, why have you got your tunic done up to here? He said, I forgot my shirt because I was so pissed the night before. They had so much drink, and I was fine. So my tolerance level was high. So it was just part of my identity. Then I got that name. Like you say, you get the identity. Oh, he's soldier. I took you out. Big drinker. And it becomes your life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Until it's too late. And I knew I was drinking too much, but I didn't want to stop really in my heart of hearts. It wasn't until the doctor said.
How difficult is that to be a place to live in, right? Because it's interesting, right? Like eventually I think we can see through it. This is not good. We're seeing everything. But you're in that spot where it's taking you down. It's going to take you down, but you can't give it up. You don't want to quit. I mean, how difficult is that?
It's torture. That's the best way to put it. It's torture. When you're in that zone, you just, every day it becomes, that's all you think about. Yeah. It's booze all the time, When you got to the point where someone's want to quit, you can't, and you know that you're going to be fearful of it, then you get so down with it all because you don't think about anything else. My whole focus was alcohol, make sure I had plenty of supply. I wasn't eating properly. It comes out like a deck of cards, really. Everything just collapses around you. And it's so quick. The amount of people I know have been in similar situations who've lost their house, their job. Fortunately, I didn't lose my house because I've had some income, got a retirement package. Lots of people living on the street I've spoken to in Manchester and London. And so we've been, decent guys like ourselves, and they've just fallen down because of it. And, it's a very difficult place to be in that zone. When you get to stage 3.5, when you know you're doing yourself harm, that's so difficult to get out of. And when you get past that, then it's hard to get back on the cliff edge. It's just so fast and it's so debilitating. And everything fails, doesn't it? I mean, it's just the worst. It's the worst drug. It could be the most harmful drug around, isn't it? Yeah. And obviously withdrawal can kill you. That wasn't good.
Well, I mean, most harmful, I think for sure there could be a debate for that because it's available everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. It's on every sign. You can't leave the house and drive 10 minutes not to run into it, or you can't get gas, or you really can't do a whole heck of a lot, right? And it's just acceptable. It's one of the things too, right? Sometimes if you tell people you'll quit, that if we told people, well, we quit doing cocaine and we quit doing this or that, they would pat us on the back, right? But if you tell some people that, I quit drinking, they say, oh, you had a problem? What was wrong? It's like this, it's getting better, but it's that weird.
There's still a huge stigma. There's a massive stigma about not drinking. And I think that's where it took me into a little bit when I started dating after I got divorced. As soon as you tell a girl you don't drink, they assume you're an alcoholic. They assume it's true. Why don't you drink? Somebody used to come up with me was, do you not drink on your holidays? Oh, do you not want just one? Why can't you just have one? Oh, it's Friday night, just have one with your meal. It is so difficult to start a relationship when you've got alcohol issues. And so you come up with all these excuses, and really you've just got to, bite the bullet and say, look, I've got an issue with alcohol. Because you can't mask it forever, can you? And you're right, why don't you drink? Exactly what you said. I used to be a heroin addict. Oh, so good, you're healthy again. Now, you don't drink. It's the questions, because it's so socially acceptable, like you're saying. Which occasion do you mark without a drink? I can't think of any. Births, deaths, marriages, always drink involved, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Every day there's drink involved. There's pubs everywhere. Like you say, gas stations, petrol stations. I went to a petrol station the other day. The biggest sign on the forecourt was 24-hour off license available in the petrol station.
Yeah.
So it's available, isn't it? It wasn't so much.
What's that mean? 24-hour off? What did you say?
Off license means it's an off license. We call it off license, where people can buy booze. It's just another name for, a shop that sells liquor, really. Yeah, so they've got a license to alcohol, 24 hours a day in a petrol station. So you get people. I had a friend of mine, about, say, 2 years ago, he was a heavy drinker. And he used to try and hide it from his wife. He used to climb out the window, the bedroom window, go to the local garage and have 8 or 10 cans of this strong cider from the garage and not tell her. Went back home. He died 4 years ago. When he was going to die, he just couldn't stop. He'd had medical intervention. He'd been told, but, he just couldn't stop. I knew somebody who had had a liver transplant who started to drink again. After all that trauma of the transplant, felt better, dead within 6 months. It's a huge killer, isn't it? And that's what we're on about. You can't stop and you want to stop is so difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not getting support. I think, for me personally, because it was the way I felt, I think you've got to be an alcoholic to help an alcoholic. The doctors can prescribe things. The doctors can save your life in some cases, surgeons and whatnot. But alcoholics can give advice to alcoholics because only we know how we feel.
I think, too, people are more, people might be, if somebody's walked that path, they might be more open to the feedback. You know what I mean? If I wanted to be the best rugby player in the world, I'm probably going to listen to other rugby players and probably not listen to, basketball player that's going to tell me about where I got to go. So I think being, been through this stuff in one way or another ourselves, we can deploy a lot of empathy and understanding for where people are at in their
100%.
sort of journey of things and see it from that it's not, that it's tough sometimes, right? It's really hard to turn things around.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was hard. But even now, I had numerous procedures. I had what's called a shunt put in the liver to open the portal vein up so the liver would work again. So I had a couple of procedures then I was in intensive care. Even I sometimes think, after 5 years, and I've got a great life at the moment, I wonder what it's like just to have one. And I still think that now. Yeah. I wonder if I could just have one. I haven't done it because I'm so confident now. I've got too much to lose. But I've always had too much to lose in a way, haven't I, when you look back? I wonder if I'd just have one. But there never is one, is there? Yeah. One is going to be 100, and then 100, it could be your last one, really, in effect. This is the issue. This is what we've got to try and put over to people. That one drink, when you've off it, you've got to be off it. But going back on it. And people think they've got to have this wonderful life. The big guys who used to speak in the pub, I've got to die of something. And these are guys in their 50s, They look 80. They've lost everything. They're still in the pub. They don't want to quit. And that's a lot of the problem as well, isn't it? But I wanted to quit, but I couldn't. That makes sense in a way. When I was older. But when I was younger, it was a different ballgame. Totally different ballgame. I just wonder what can be done. It's a worldwide problem, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure. So you have this 8 years of recovery.
Yep.
And then, start seeing this girl and you go through that. You just have one. How do things look like moving forward from there until you get sober again?
Right. After that, we split up very quickly after that anyway. So it wasn't going to work. But that's hindsight, isn't it? And then I got myself into this drinking all the time. Then I went back to the doctors and said they wouldn't give me any medication. So I'll try and self-medicate and just taper off. So I tried to taper off for a year or two. I could do it. Just could not do it. So eventually I said to my daughter, who lived in Manchester, will you come and pick me up? I'll come and live with you. She just lived on her own at the time. And I stayed with her for 10 weeks. She was going to tape me off, do this 20 drinks down to 19 and all that sort of thing. And I thought this is working a little bit. I still never felt as clean as I did when I had the medication. When you have the medication, you can have 7 days of it and you come out of it and, whoa, because you just sleep basically when you had this diazepam. And you feel really good. But when I was just taping off, I was thinking, I could just fancy a couple more. So when she got to bed, I used to have a couple more drinks. And then when she was at work, I said the doctor walked to the pub. So the taping off never worked. So I came back from that. I felt a little bit better. But as soon as I got back, I thought, I feel a little bit better. I'll go and see the lads in the pub again. And it was back to square one again. So about 2017, I was starting to look pretty gaunt, not eating properly. I couldn't be bothered with people, very lethargic, all that sort of thing. I wasn't contacting the doctor about anything. I thought I'd give up with them doctors. And I just became a bit of a recluse in a way. I did try and get to the pub at times when it just was so low. And I would just get all this beer delivered. I had 48 slabs of Stella Lager. That's 48 times whatever. It was on a slab, 24. Masses and masses of drink. I became very anxious about things, about answering the door, about answering the phone. I didn't open any mail. I used to just sit and listen to a bit of music. The TV wasn't working. I didn't want to let anybody in to get it fixed. Eventually, I had rats in there. A couple of times the rat people came out. And even then, I couldn't get up in the morning to let them in. And my life just fell apart. And I started to lose all that weight. People used to say to me, God, you look terrible. I was just frightened to see anybody. And I couldn't function, to be fair. And I just stopped eating this sort of thing. About early 2019, my father's 90th birthday, I went to a family thing and everyone said, oh, it was dreadful. But all I wanted to do was drink. I used to hide drink. And when I went to stay with my parents or my daughter, I was, I had to take a bag full of drinks. I didn't drink spirits. I was always hiding stuff. And the whole thing, it became hard work. It was a 24-hour mission just to have a drink. And I wasn't feeling any better. Because you think every day is going to be a better day. It's not, It just gets worse and worse. So you get to the point where your whole life is just consumed by alcohol. You don't sleep properly, you don't eat properly, you don't function properly. Your digestive system, it's awful. And then I spoke to a couple of lads who came to visit me, and they said, if you don't ring 999, then we will. So I ended up, ringing the hospital. But my life had gone to the point where I think if I hadn't rang on that day in 2019, October, then I would have lasted maybe another 3 or 4 months. That would have been me. I just wouldn't have woken up again because my body was just completely done in. Unfortunately, I don't know how I've survived, to be honest. So that's the road it took me down. And I just think that's, maybe I was a bit old, I couldn't function, mental health had gone. It took me a long time to get back. But I listened to everything I was told to do, and I didn't have another drink. If I'd done another drink again, then I wouldn't be here. So I'm very lucky. I've been very lucky to save myself, really, and for other people to help me. And now everything's back to normal.
Yeah. What was your daughter's thoughts on everything?
She was quite supportive, but the relationship did fade a little bit. You're drinking again because she had a new boyfriend who's now my son-in-law to be. She's now got a baby. And she came into hospital, I was ill, and she said, she was crying, said, I wanted somebody to walk me down the aisle. And that was one of the things that really pushed me into never having another drink. To see her, quite an emotional time, And I had this huge descended stomach, which was ascites fluid. It took 26 litres off in one go of fluid. That's 26 kilos in weight of fluid. That was coming off me every 3 weeks because my liver had shrunk so much, I was unable to process anything. So I had all this ascites fluid, and I just was deconditioned, thinner arms. And I looked like an alien at the time. She was so upset by it all. And I didn't think I was going to survive. And that turned me around a little bit. And I got quite depressed by that. And I was in that hospital a lot. But I said, you must tell the doctor you're feeling depressed. And I did. And it didn't do much about it. I didn't get any follow-up for that. But I just sort of pulled myself out of that. But her perspective was, if you ever drink again, I'll never speak to you again. She became hard with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But
since I've kept my sense side of the bargain, everything's sweet again, which is good. And now I've got a grandson. And I've seen her grow up. And I'm going to get married, and all life's good again. But I would have missed all of that. But she was supportive initially, but I think people get a bit sick of it.
Yeah.
If you're not helping yourself, because you can imagine you help somebody and they're constantly telling you lies. You become a liar when you drink. And you become snide and you hide things and you're not truthful and all that. You would become a different person, I think. Mm-hmm. I wasn't the same man. I've still got into the real active addiction level that I was prior to that. But everything's good now.
Yeah.
But my relationship with my parents went down. My mother's still around, but my dad died 2021 when I was sober. And then I couldn't really walk through. I was in a wheelchair just about most of the time, going from patient transport to the hospital. And I thought, I've got to get myself fit for his funeral. So I managed to sort of walk a little bit, got over that, and then got my old flat done up and this sort of thing. And things moved quite quickly after that. When I eventually sort of got to do two things, which the doctors tell you to do, which you don't want to do when you're ill, that's eat and walk or move around. And that'll help you recover, So it was good in that respect. Yeah. But relationships, for everything goes downhill with drink. There's nothing positive about it, is there?
Yeah. But they go up, but they've went uphill without drink. right?
Amazingly. Oh,
Yeah, good.
the last 3 years has been probably the best year. Last year, meeting my new partner and my grandson being born, and myself, and doing what I've done with the alcohol issues. It's just, my life's better than it was when I was 25. So you
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
And,
So walk me through that. You said your friends came over and they were like, you have to call the
yeah,
hospital and go in. Is that when they were like, okay, did all the tests and be like, you're in rough shape here?
yeah. 'Cause I asked one of them one night, and I said to her, "Look, that bad?" He said, "Steve, you look horrendous." And they came over a couple of nights later because they knew where I lived. I didn't want to let them in, but they were blokes will get in if they want to see you. So they came in and said, if you don't ring 99 tomorrow, I'm going to do it for you. And funny enough, that morning, the next morning I woke up and I had 4 cans of Stella Lager for 5%. And I thought, what's got to do? Otherwise I'll be back. So I rang 999 and the ambulance crew came. There's two fellas, 2 men. One came in, and actually both came in. They just took one look at me, and I'll never forget. One of them turned to the other and he said, "This guy's ill." They took me in a blue light. And from then I had various procedures. And then I had the site fluid where they put the tips thing in, the thing in my liver. I still didn't work to get rid of all this fluid. And I had a massive umbilical hernia. 2020, this hernia, which was the size of 2 tennis balls, split because the skin gets very, when your umbilical belly button basically comes out with the fluid, it's got to go somewhere. The skin gets very thin, and that split. And I started bleeding. I was at my parents', there was towels and all sorts going on. The ambulance came up. It was all during COVID, so it was hard to get an ambulance, really. And got in the ambulance, put 2 blast bandages on me, which are explosive bandages, and they took me to hospital. And I nearly bled to death then because of that. So all these things happened. And that's why I'm so pleased to be alive, really. It was horrendous. I'm so pleased those fellas got me to ring the doctor, because if I was at the hospital, because if I hadn't rang 999, I wouldn't be here. I'd have died in my bed, either from liver failure or from, bleeding to death. A hell of a turnaround. And funny enough, they both came to see me in hospital. And it was good. And I still keep touching them today. So something in the local newspaper printed. I took them in. I took my copy in. So it was good. Been very good. I've had a lot of support since I've gotten well. Since I've got well again, I've had more support than when I was ill.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
People give up on you if you don't help yourself.
Yeah, people can only do so much. Yeah. So that was in 2019, was it?
Well, yeah, 2019 was when I was really ill.
Yeah, okay.
And then I was ill until 2021. And then the last 2.5, 3 years, I felt better. I died like 2021. And then from then on, I've just got better every year, to the point where I'm back in the gym, been on holiday, new relationship, and my health's back to normal. And I have 6 monthly checks, because obviously if you've got liver disease, there's a high chance of getting liver cancer. And the stent they put in is still patent and working properly. I want no medication. I'm eating normally, and I can exercise, go to the gym now and again with my girlfriend. Everything's fine. But health-wise, I'm fine.
Yeah.
There's not a problem now. But to have come from that, to think about what it was like 5 years ago, it's horrific. And people don't recognise me. So, gosh, you look totally different, because they saw me go down and then up again. And I've gone up past what I was prior to going down. So it's been a massive boost to my confidence to get well. And that's why I want to help people if I can.
So when they took you in the ambulance, that was the last time you drank then? Like before that?
2019, 11th of October, 2019. Yeah. And I was just frightened. I just felt so ill. I couldn't drink. Because probably, but hair of the dog, when I was drinking actively, I was drinking all the time. Well, I think when you're in the hospital environment, somebody comes up to you and says, "If you drink again, I guarantee you're going to be dead in 6 months." That was some consultant guy. I thought, he knows what he's talking about. That's the first time I'd actually stared death in the face, really. Because I was in intensive care, and I've been in all the departments. I was in all five major hospitals in North England. Wow. All 5 of them at some point over that 2-year period, admitted an emergency.
Yeah.
And
did that, being involved with that and those sort of turn of events, just maybe really make this all real for you? This is really serious, like where I've ended up with drinking?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, I had 3 general anesthetics. The operation they did to put this was called a TIPS operation, to put this shunt in the liver to open the portal vein up. That's a 4-hour operation. And there's a 30% chance of, when you recover from that, if you do recover from the operation, you're going to have brain damage. Because what it does is it allows the blood flow to flow through the liver as normal, and you get a rush of blood to the brain. And a lot of people have brain damage from that. It's called TIPS. It's very complicated. They don't do many of those. They do less of those than they do transplants. It's an operation they give you when you're too unwell to have a transplant, but you need something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they said I wasn't suitable for a transplant. I was too weak, physiologically weak. So there's the last calling, really, to have this tips put in. And when I woke up, I noticed two of them asked me loads of questions. So you were okay, basically. And your mental health hadn't suffered and hasn't. So every year they checked me in for that as well. I'd brought bone scans. I had everything done.
Yeah.
So, it was a serious scare.
And,
It's really bad.
Yeah. Is gratitude something you think about from time to time? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all the time now. Yeah. It's changed my life.
Yeah.
I respect life more now. I just wake up and think, I'll go around and people say, oh, the weather's not very good, or this has happened, or the gas electricity prices are high. I think, well, at least I'm alive. Somebody said to me, when your head is above grass, it's a good day. Which means you're not very dead, I suppose, isn't it? Living the dream is not being ill to me now. Because when you're staring death in the face, I had some dangerous incidents in the police, don't get me wrong, but when you're on an operating theatre and it's a really serious operation, because not only the tips was, the umbilical hernia was as well, because I remember the surgeon, when I was in the ambulance, I had this umbilical hernia and the blast bandages on, even they wouldn't contain the blood. They got on the radio to get a crash team ready at the hospital, and I thought I was going to A&E, and they took me straight into resus. And I was the only person going in there, and the surgeon was ready with his kit. And he said to me, there's no time for anaesthetic. He said, I'm going to stitch this hernia up, because if ascites fluid comes out your stomach, you'll die. It just gets infected. And if this doesn't work, there's not much more we can do. That's what he said to me. I thought, jeez, what's going on here? So I was very aware that it was serious.
Yeah.
And I did think I was going to lose my life. Numerous times I used to think I was going to lose my life. Wow. And to have the chance to live again, wow, incredible.
Yeah.
It's simply turned around. To have so many issues. And then now I'm wondering, well, smile, Tony. It's amazing. Life's incredible.
Yeah. No, I love that. What have been some things that have been helpful for you to stay on this path and not drink?
I think the relationship with my daughter's been stronger. My new partner, my zest for life. I had a massive zest for life when I was young. And I've got that back. I've got my motivation back. I think because I drank so much early on in my life, my opportunities were probably lessened because I was switched on, quite bright. I was very much into the police. I would have gone much further if I hadn't drunk. I hadn't drunk as much because I really loved the job. I fitted in well. I'm sort of natural leader in a way that I took responsibility easily. I wasn't fazed by things. But the drink made me less, I can't be bothered with that. Do you want to go to this meeting? I can't be bothered with that. Do you want to take this course? I can't be bothered with that. When you get this drink, it makes you feel a bit mad. I can't be bothered today. All you want to do is get through the day, and then you want to go to the pub. That's what I was focused on. So it's really, it's been really that sort of thing. And I think, I can do so much more now. Yeah. And I think it's alcohol for me. The only good thing that's come out of it is because I'm well, And I think you see the good part. You see the best in people as well when you come through it all.
Yeah.
Because it's horrendous,
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity to do this as well, this is amazing for me.
Yeah.
Because when you've got your life back, it's like, wow, I'm back in. You've been so close to dying, and then you pull yourself back, and it's just, wow. I just wish I'd done it 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's an incredible journey. And, if I can help people, then I'd be grateful to do that, really, because nobody needs to suffer. Because we go into this drinking thing, it's a nice innocent pint of beer and it can kill you. It's a killer, isn't it? As we both know.
Yeah. So looking back, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but looking back at, things, right? It's quite the journey, some ups, some downs, some sober time in there, 8 years too. But is there any element or thought you have of you needed in your life something tragic maybe to happen, something serious to happen in your life like that, at the end there, for you to wake up to what's going on and maybe give you that nudge or that push? Was like that any part of it for you?
I think getting to the point where I couldn't function, and when the doctor came in and said you got this cirrhosis of the liver, that was my wake-up call. And I thought, I'm going to die here. But prior to that, I just drifted through and drifted. I found life quite easy, if that makes sense. I didn't really have any problems. But when you get to the point where you're hospitalised basically all the time and you're starting to be institutionalised, and I think the doctor as well on the Sunday who came up and said, if you drink again, you're going to die. This is what you need that to be told. You need people to say that to you, really. And that, you got to go that on the right path and don't drink and you're going to live, or the left you're going to die early, or within 6 months. So that was the thing to me. That was a shock to the system when you're in the hospital environment as a patient and they say that to you. And you go to a ward and somebody opposite you, the guy opposite me, I got to know quite well, was taken down for operation, didn't come back because he died on the operating table. You think, wow. And I keep harping back to these memories of the hospitals and what happened in there and what could have happened to me. And that's sort of kept my focus. And there's certain things happened. I thought the death of my dad, maybe that would have triggered it. No. The only thing that could have maybe triggered me going back on the drink again is maybe something happened to my daughter, but I'm hoping not, as we all do, Yeah. There's always tragedy in life, but when you're sober, you can deal with things better, can't you?
Yeah.
The thing. But
and I think too, with the growth that we do in recovery too, is that we realize too that drinking is not, even if things do happen around us, small things, big things, major things, like drinking doesn't fix anything. We wake up the next day and it makes it worse, and we wake up the next day and whatever we were trying to run from is still there.
Yeah, 100%. It's much worse.
Yeah. Because
it increases the anxiety that you were getting rid of is now increased hundredfold by drinking. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And I got to the point out, just a quick one, when I was on duty one day. When we were on duty in uniform, we didn't used to queue very much. Maybe it was just me, but I went to the bank in Regent Street and I had the old checkbooks, used to write a checkbook out. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. And I had a big drink the night before. I was fully in uniform. And I was come you go to the front of the queue, because it's quite nice in your uniform. And I went to the queue and I thought, wow, my hands are shaking a bit here. Jesus Christ. And I was like that with the check. I thought, I can't do that in front of the woman because she knows who I am. So I said, I've just got a call. I pretended I got a call and I left the bank. I can't write anything. And when I finished duty, when I had the 3 or 4 pints and I got to the bank just before 3 o'clock, and I walked in as well, that wrote straight away. Because I was so anxious about going, even writing the letter, because I'm signing my name and all this sort of, I couldn't function really. So all this, I did a video the other night about functioning alcoholic. I didn't think I functioned well. I could function as in get there, but that would be a nightmare to get to work and perform. But you're not really functioning when you're alcoholic, are you? Because all these things happen to you. It's not good at all. Not good at all.
Yeah, and a lot of other stuff. A lot of areas, of life is not good. Yeah, maybe some people think, maybe I'm showing up to work and I'm working and I haven't lost my job, but relationships are very minimal, if anything, and you're just skating by. It's not really,
it's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah,
being an alcoholic is very hard work. It's much easier to be sober. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was still drinking, I'll be like, I've got to feed you, and I'll be, is that there? Van going to drop me some beer? I've got a beer in the fridge. Has my girlfriend got something sorted for tomorrow? My daughter coming next week. My mind's racing, but now I just think, what we're going to do next? It's just it's a much calmer life.
Yeah.
I feel since I've stopped drinking, my life is at peace, if that makes sense. Still busy, but I like it. When I was busy before, I was avoiding it to try and just stabilise my life and drink. That is no good. For me, it has zero benefits. Zero. And sobriety has thousands of benefits.
Yeah.
Even just for your mental health.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It's endless, right? The thing with drinking is there's a ceiling to it, and it's not going to get any better to our lives. There's a ceiling. In sobriety, there's no ceiling. You can just opportunities and you can.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
Yeah. Just heading towards wrapping up here. If somebody's listening to this episode here on the podcast and they're struggling to get or stay sober, what would you mention to them, like from your own experience?
Focus is the main thing. Concentrate on not in relapse. I think you've got to look at yourself. If you're alcohol dependent, is the first thing. If you're alcohol dependent, then you must get some medical advice. But the most important message I would have, if you can get off it, prevent relapse, prevent going to places you used to go, and don't have this illusion of you're missing out. If you know FOMO, fear of missing out, this illusion of everyone else is having a good time because they're drinking is rubbish, because they're not. Because if you think about the days when you used to drink, you weren't having a good time all the time. And we've all got issues to deal with. You can't deal with anyone when you're drunk. And you've got to focus on when you get the opportunity of being sober for one day, be sober for 2 days. And another thing is when somebody says to you, you can't ever have a drink for the rest of your life. It's emotionally a very bit of a body blow, really, isn't it? You can never have a drink in the rest of your life. Think about it as in, I'm not going to drink today, and break it down into small chunks, and you won't drink today. and then tomorrow you might not drink as well. And that's the way to concentrate on it. Do it in small chunks. Look after yourself. Get healthy. Do the 2 things I mentioned: exercise and eat good food, best you can afford. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Stephen. Anything else we missed that you want to mention before we wrap up?
No, I think that's about it. Focus on yourself a little bit. Like I said, I think a lot of drinkers are very much people pleasers. I think a doctor once said to me, she said, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. It's very true, that. And be honest with yourself. Be honest with the people, especially in relationships, because relationships, for me, were the main trigger that I drank more after relapse. And relapse is a big thing, and keep watching you and listening to you and listen to people who have got knowledge of this, because it's a constant learning curve, life, isn't it? And so is recovery. Every day is different, and it's a wonderful life out there, and it's 1,000 times better sober.
Yeah, beautiful.
1,000 times. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for your time.
Well, there it is, everyone. Another incredible episode. Hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you, Stephen, so much for sharing your episode. I'll drop Stephen's contact information down in the show notes below. Also, if you're loving the podcast, don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Jump over there and do that right now. It would mean the world. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.